Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another Live at 5 with SFC Define. I am so glad you could join me today. What a beautiful day it is outside. I hope you've taken some time to get out and enjoy this beautiful sunshine. Still a little nip in the air, in my opinion, but it's a beautiful day nonetheless. So I hope you enjoy it. Listen, I'm excited today. Um, we're starting a new series. And the title of this series for this month is Breaking Cycles. And I don't think that have to really define what cycles are in our lives. For those of you that need to have a more formal definition of what I think a cycle is, and I really think it's those repetitive occurrences that keep us stuck in the same lifestyle, dealing with the same kind of people, even generational curses and all of those things like that. So I feel like that once we identify what a cycle is, then we can start figuring out how to break those cycles in our lives. So that's what I'm most excited about because I have this particular topic is very near and dear to me because I know that over the past few years, I've had to break a lot of cycles in my life, like especially mental cycles that sort of kind of, we talked about some time ago, some months ago, about limiting belief, those rules that we've grown up with that has defined who we are, and not so much in a positive way. Like, there was a teacher or parent or older cousin or somebody that told you that you would never amount to anything or that you would never have that. And you've allowed what they've said to become a cycle and you have it on replay. So you find yourself in these cycles all of the time, trying to get past where you are in life. And what I have come to the conclusion of is that you don't move anywhere if you don't break the cycle. A lot of times we don't break it, we bend it. We bend the cycles, but we don't break them. When you bend the cycles, there's a likelihood that they will show up again at some other point in your life. But when you really break that cycle, you start looking for patterns. You look at different patterns in your life. Say, for example, how many times have you said to yourself, why do I always attract these types of relationships? Like every person that I meet, they don't have a job. They always look for me to be the provider or the caregiver. They always look for me. That's a cycle. And we got to figure out how to break that cycle. Or even when you're talking about jobs and your professional career, how do I always end up with a job that sooner or later uh, fires everybody or puts everybody on furlough or whatever? These are cycles that we need to figure out why we keep attracting certain things so that when they show up, we'll know how to deal with them. Because, in my opinion, the only way that you're able to move forward in life is you identify certain cycles that you keep finding yourself in and figuring out how to break those cycles. So listen, I know I got some y'all on here. Hopefully I got some folk that don't mind talking back to me today. So I need for you to talk to me about the different cycles. Tell me what, first of all, just for, because this is our day one of this new series, Breaking Cycles, let's identify what some of those cycles look like. Thank you, Sonia, for being on. Denise, thank you. I appreciate you. What do those cycles look like? What is a cycle in your life? I told you that some of them are those repetitive occurrences that sort of kind of keeps you. I always think of a little gerbil on a wheel when I think of a cycle. Like it's just something you can't seem to get off of. You try and you try and you try, but you can't get off of that cycle. Um, and then I think about the things that we have accepted as a lineage or as a part of our bloodline, as a part of our genetics, as a part of our heredity, things that we uh, have embraced as generational. And those are cycles that we can figure out how to break those cycles as well. Divorce may be the thing that runs in your family. It could be that, like hypertension, cancer, all of these. How do we break these generational curses? How do we break these cycles? So tell me what you think a cycle is. We are not even talking about how to break them yet. Just tell me, give me your feedback on what you think these cycles or some of these cycles may be, whether you're talking about personal cycles or where you noticed in other people how they stay on this thing, this treadmill, if you will, and never find themselves getting off of these treadmills. So talk to me. Denise, I know you got something to say. I know you got something to say. Tell me. What are how would you define a cycle in your life? How would you define getting stuck in a repetitive occurrence that some people, you or whomever else, may not see themselves ever getting off of? We want more. We want better. We want to do more. We want to have more. We want to be more. But because of these cycles that we refuse to identify, number one, and number two, that we refuse to break, we find ourselves missing out on so much. So that's what we want to talk about over the course of this next month, for the month of April. It is April, right? Yeah, for the month of April, I want to make sure that we identify what these cycles look like. It's so much that we can talk about, and I guess the best way to start is talking about me. There was I wanted to figure out how to get past. Like, I'm always the person that fixes everybody. I've always been that way. People have always come to me to talk to me about their problems, so much so that it has become uncomfortable for me to talk about my problems, simply because I'm always somebody else's Mr. Fix It. And it got to the point where I was like, why do I keep attracting these people and feeling like these are the people that I'm always having to pour into, but never attracting people that can pour back into me. So I realized that these are cycles. So I started changing my mindset and started changing how I thought of myself. I realized that I thought of myself as Mr. Fix It. I thought of myself as being everybody else's answer. So those were the types of people that I was attracting, because I felt like that's who needed me. But I've come to realize that just as easily as I can attract people that I need to pour into, I can equally attract people that can pour back into me. And when I started breaking that cycle, that mental cycle of feeling like everybody needed to be fixed, I realized that there are people out there that I interact with or that I can come in contact with that are willing to pour back into me. And I've seen a difference. I've seen that happen. And that is major for me. That is major for me. Denise, you say there are so many generational cycles: early pregnancy, divorce, alcohol, drugs, depression, eating disorder. You're absolutely right. These are cycles, and these are not just generational curses, but these are cycles that we adopt. And the sad reality is, Denise, is the fact that we view these as normal. Like, we have grown up with depression, and we've grown up with anxiety, we've grown up with drugs and eating disorders, and that has become our norm. And that's why we never identify them as a cycle that need to and that can be broken. Once you identify what these cycles are in your life, then that gives you power to identify ways that you can break these cycles. Is depression and anxiety a type of cycle? If so, how can that be broken? In my opinion, I believe that depression and anxiety are cycles to some extent. Now, there are those people that definitely deal with depression and anxiety on a completely different level, that probably needs medication to help level that imbalance. But I still believe wholeheartedly that anxiety and depression are cycles that can be broken. First of all, you've got to want them to be broken. You've got to want, and people say, well, I don't believe that, because who would want to be depressed? You would be surprised at how many people find pleasure, find comfort in being anxious and being depressed. They find that because that gives them attention from other people. And I know that some of you won't agree with that. And I promise you, I do know that there are cases where anxiety and depression are so extreme. But there have also been so many cases that I've read, case studies that I've read, books that I've read, where psychologists and psychiatrists will get to the brunt of it, and they realize that it has been a cycle. Like, this was their cycle. And once that cycle was identified and once it was broken, the depression was lifted and stuff. So, please don't mistake. I know that that's a very serious illness for so many people, but I wholeheartedly believe that once you get to the core of the matter, and that is that cycle, that it can be broken. I think anything is possible. Anything is possible. Sonia says her cycle is eating. Yeah, a lot of us, that's a cycle for us, but it can be broken. It's going to take willingness. Everybody, the cliche or the adage that we're so used to hearing is, where there's a will, there's a way. And it is absolutely accurate for this. If there's a will to break cycles, there's a way to break them. Lincoln says a couple of generational cycles that immediately come to mind are generational wealth and hereditary things such as high blood pressure. In my opinion, we as a people need to do better building financial stability for our children, grandchildren, and beyond. Absolutely. Not all cycles are bad cycles. Let's put that out there. Thank you, Lincoln. But absolutely, there are cycles that can be established that are very good and are very healthy for you, for your personal growth, for your personal advancement, and just in general for everybody that's around you. So yeah, not all cycles are bad. We're talking about breaking those negative or detrimental cycles that are in our life, those cycles of wealth and prosperity and good health and good eating and strong mental stability. All of those are cycles that we can perpetuate in our lives and pass them on to generation to generation. So absolutely, thank you for that, Lincoln. Benny, hey man, he says, a cycle I see in my life or family is not fully identifying and exploring the talents and gifts in us. For example, so many people close to me express things that they would like to do with their life, or businesses they would like to do, or skill set that they sit unnourished. But we get so busy with working jobs and we don't explore the gifts and the talents. Absolutely. I mean, that's a cycle too as well. So now you guys are on the right page. We're all on the same page as to what a cycle looks like, as to what a cycle is. Let's shift gears for a minute and talk about how those detrimental cycles that keep showing up generation after generation, year after year, person after person, season after season, how do we break those cycles of not doing enough, or break those cycles of not having enough or not being enough? How do we break out of those cycles? Yolanda says, I see a lot of people that can continually pick the same type of partner. It's the same personality type in a different body. And that is it. That is a cycle. We tend to attract who we are. It has been said that the 5 closest people that we have in our lives are a reflection of who we are on the inside. So the people that you see around you and that you spend the most time with, you're actually looking at a reflection of yourself in the mirror through those 5 people. Now I'll let you chew on that for a little while and think about that. But if you think about it, the people that you spend the most time around, whether they're family or friends, you're actually looking at a reflection of how you feel about yourself, how you see yourself, your thoughts, your belief systems, all of that. You see that as a reflection shining back at you when you look at the 5 closest people in your life. So how do you get past that? How do you change the trajectory of your life and break those cycles? Like you finally get to a place in life where you say, I want something different My friends, they're not growing at the same rate. They're not evolving. They're okay with being okay. They're okay with being mediocre. And all of a sudden, you realize that there is more to life than sitting on your couch channel surfing. How do you get to that place? How do you break that cycle of attracting those same kinds of friends that keep you in the same place over and over? Well, and this is my opinion. This is what has worked for me. I had to change my mindset. If the statement is true that we are a reflection of the five closest people in our lives, then in order for you to see something different, you have to get something different in your mindset. You have to shift your mindset and change your mindset. So if I start seeing myself as wealthy and prosperous, and the people that I'm accustomed to hanging around are okay with making nickels and dimes, if my mindset change, my surroundings will inadvertently change effortlessly. But I have to change my mindset first. Denise says, first recognize what your cycles are and find ways to change it one day at a time. Absolutely. I think so often we get impatient with our progress and we get impatient with ourselves because we don't see change. You have to remember you didn't turn out like this in a day. So your change to go from this to that person that you're wanting to be is not going to happen. It's called an evolution. And anything that evolves and evolves to its maximum potential, it happens over time. Okay, so you have to be patient with yourself and make sure that you give yourself time to evolve. It takes time to change the way you think, especially the way you think about yourself. So, the first step in breaking cycles is identifying what those cycles are and then changing your mindset. Okay, so we've got those two things that are happening for us right now. We identify what those cycles are, and then we have to change our mindset. You know, I talk to people every day, all day about what goes on in their lives, things that they're dealing with. And one of the things that I find that is probably most consistent in just about everybody that I talk to is that we want something more. We say it out of our mouths. But if you listen just a few minutes longer, you will realize that their thoughts are not matching up with their words. Your thoughts are what drive your words. So your words and your thoughts are in constant conflict. I want more out of life. I want more out of life. I want to have more, but then I'm thinking that I don't deserve it. In my mind, I'm always going to be stuck here. I'm always going to be making $10 an hour. I'm always going to be at this job that I hate getting up every day to go to. So this is the conflict between your words and your thoughts. If you could ever get your thoughts and your words to align together, your thoughts create the most powerful force that you have, and that is what you say about yourself. You can trick yourself into, if you get your thoughts and your words to align. Some people say, well, you're just lying to yourself. No, I'm not lying to myself. I am telling myself, this is what I am expecting and this is what I want to see. So my thinking is going to change. I want a new position. I want a new job. I want a new career. I am going to start saying that by such and such, I'll have that new position. By such and such date, I'm going to have that new career. Now your words and your thoughts are working together, and that's starting to break that cycle. And then you start acting like you got it. You start acting like it's already happened. And then you'll see things that little synchronicities happening in your life over and over to bring that confirmation that the change is occurring and those cycles are being broken. Let me go back to what he said. He says, would you say that sometimes cycles are a way for them to deal with underlying issues that they're dealing with in their life? Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And I would say that a lot of times we have cycles that we have become so accustomed to that they've become our place of comfort. They have become so comfortable. We have been so comfortable living in this box on the same little wheel for so long that we're frightened to even think about getting off that cycle or getting out of that cycle, because we all fear the unknown. We all fear the unknown. So to even think about breaking a cycle that we've been in for the last 10 years, Denise, that blows people's minds. And that intimidation, just the mere thought of it, intimidates people to the point where they say, you know what, let me keep my cycle because this is what I know. Let me keep this cycle going because this is where I'm comfortable. Let me keep it going because this is where I can be me. They never challenge themselves or see themselves outside of this cycle that they have become so accustomed to being in. Lincoln says some of it is as simple as education. Absolutely. Expand our knowledge and awareness. Even platforms just like this is a form of education. Thank you for that. And that's all we want to do is educate you into living your best version of you. You know, if you're in a cycle and you are feeling inhibited from living the best version of who you see yourself as being, it's time to break that cycle. It's time to get over it, get past it, be done, and figure out what is next in your life. What is next? You get to identify that. You get to choose what's next in your life, not based off of what you've been told, not based off of what you think, but simply because the choices that you make that will start breaking cycles of detriment and start putting you in cycles of productivity, positivity, and advancement. Like Lincoln said, there are certain cycles that we can get caught up in that are good cycles. There are good cycles that says, you know, I create wealth. I'm on this cycle of creating wealth, not just for me, but for my children, my grandchildren, and generations to come after, you know, you're long gone. These are cycles that you can get caught up in that are good cycles. Like I said, let me reiterate, every cycle isn't bad. Every cycle isn't a bad cycle, but if it's not giving you the lifestyle that you want, if it's not moving you forward in life to where you know you are able to live the best version of you, then it's time to break the cycle. So then, with that being said, I need for you to think about something. What does the best version of you even look like? What does that even look like to you? Does it, the best version of you, do you see yourself with a different job? Do you see yourself with a different relationship? Do you see yourself with a different income? Do you see yourself living in a different, what does the best version of you even look like? That's something that we need to identify and we need to define, because if you don't know where you're headed, you'll never know how you're going to get there. And that's what breaking those cycles are. You're getting out of your same routine. You're revamping, reinventing, redefining, regrouping, all of this stuff. And you have the power to do that. No one else has the power to do that for you. No one else has the power to break your cycle. And no one else has the power to tell you what you're able to be, do, or have. You get to make that choice. It's up to you. So you need to figure out what those cycles, what cycles are you in? Are they generational curses? Are they cycles to where it keeps you hanging out with the same people all the time, doing the same stuff? Are these cycles that keep you depressed or anxious? Are these cycles that keep you angry and bitter? Are these cycles that keep you feeling like you're stagnant and comfortable in places that you don't even want to be in? That's what you need to do. You need to identify these cycles. But I believe that once you figure out what the best version of you looks like, and that's totally based off of you and your opinion about yourself, once you figure out what the best version of you look like, you figuring out which cycles need to be broken will happen automatically. Okay? It will literally happen automatically. You will need to understand that these cycles, they don't control you. You literally control them. So break them if they're not giving you the evolution of life that's available to you and to me and everybody. We need to start breaking little cycles, little cycles. Some of them are small, some of them big. Some of them you can do with a little hammer. Others you're going to need a wrecking ball to break. But the fact is, and the point of today, if you don't take anything else away from our time together today, know that any cycle in your life that is not allowing you to move forward, you have the power to break it. Okay? You have the power to break that cycle. And once you break that cycle, trust me, you are going to go forward so much quicker, so much faster, and having that authority that you need. We talking about taking back power of your life, making your own choices, deciding what you want to do for yourself, and figuring out what the best version of you looks like. I wake up every day. In fact, I go to bed every night saying, let me wake to the best version of me, whatever that is. And I start naming stuff. And any cycle that I can identify that needs to be broken, hey, I start chiseling away at it. And my day is spent chiseling away at certain cycles that I know are not progressing me forward and moving me forward. So I appreciate you guys today. Thank y'all for the comments, the questions. They always matter. They always mean a lot to me. They help me think. They help me grow. And I am so glad that you joined me today with another version of Live at 5 to 7. Listen, next Sunday, we are going to keep this series going, breaking cycles. Breaking cycles. I want you to think about it this week. Think about some cycles in your life that you need to break so that you can move forward. Okay? Think about cycles in your life that you can break that will help you move forward and tap into that best version of you. All right, next Sunday, we'll talk again. Have a good week.